Hi, this is Andrea with Yarn Packin' Mama, and today I'm going to go into how to make the bobble stitch. And for this swatch, I'm going to be doing an offset bobble stitch, but you are not limited to doing an offset. You can do a stacked bobble. You can even create shapes and patterns out of your bobble. For example, in my Galaxy Snood, I didn't use a bobble stitch, but I very easily could have used a bobble stitch to create my planet motif in my Galaxy Snood, which is for sale, the pattern, on my Etsy and Ravelry shops. But anyway, let's get into the bobble stitch. So I have chained 19 because the bobble stitch is a 4+3 multiple, and I have worked row 1, which is a double crochet into each, starting in the 4th chain from the hook. And that has given me a total of 16 double crochet stitches. And now let's turn our work. Chain 3. And these turning chains do not count as a stitch, so you're going to work right back into where you just came from, or where you just created your chain from. And first of all, we're going to start with 2 single crochets. And this is the first repeat of a 4-row repeat sequence. First row in the repeat. So 2 single crochets. Now we're going to bobble into the next, which is going to be 5 double crochets together. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I have gone over stitches together in another tutorial for my Catherine wool stitch, but basically a stitch together is where you first create a stitch and then you leave it as a half stitch unfinished, and then you just gather as many stitches as you are. For this, for example, it's 5 double crochets, and you should have 6 loops on your hook when you have 5 unfinished double crochet stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So then you're going to yarn over and pull through all of those. And then in the next 3 stitches, you're going to do single crochets. So 3 single crochets. And then that is the repeat for this row. It's going to be bobble, 3 single crochets. And at the end, you will finish with 2 single crochets as well. And I will meet you up at the end. Okay, so I've gone across the row and created my bobble stitches, and you will work your bobble stitches on the wrong side every time, because when you pop them forward, they're nice and pronounced on the front side, leaving the back side nice and relatively flat. So now we're going to move on to row 3. So for row 3, I am going to chain 2 after I've turned my work, and then I'm just going to double crochet all the way across, and this chain does not count as a stitch, so I'm just going to work back into that same spot and also work into the top of my bobble stitches. Do not forget to work those, guys. And I will meet you up at the end to go into row number 4. Okay, so I am at the end of row 3, and I just worked double crochets all the way across, but not into the turning chain, since it does not count as a stitch in this case. And now to go on to row number 4, And for row number 4, I am going to chain, I'm not going to chain, excuse me. For row number 4, I am not going to chain for this one because, you know, typically I don't chain for single crochets. And I'm going to do 4 single crochets. And then I'm going to do a bubble stitch, which again is 5 double crochets together. So into this next stitch, I'm going to put 1 double crochet, but leave it unfinished, yarn over, put another unfinished double crochet, excuse me, yarn over, and then just repeat that until I have 6 loops on my hook. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One more will give me 5 double crochets together. Pull through all the loops on the hook, single crochet into the next 3. So there's 1, 2, and 3. And that's the repeat for this row. It is the bobble stitch followed by 3 single crochets, and that again is the bobble stitch is 5 double crochets together. So into the next stitch you're just going to work 5 double crochets together, and again that's done by leaving these as unfinished and yarning over in between each 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, pulling through all the loops on the hook, and then 3 followed by 3 single crochets into the next 3 stitches. And that is how the bobble stitch is laid out if you want to do an offset bobble stitch. It's a 4-row repeat, and then I will finish this up and show you what the 2 rows of bubbles look like on the front and back. And this row you will finish with 4 single crochets as well. And remember that your turning chain does not count as a stitch, so do not work into it. And that's row number 4. And here is what our bobble stitches look like on the front. This is a great way to add some texture to project, or like I said, you can use it to create like shapes and patterns within, or spell words or anything like that, which is really fun. And then on the back side, it's relatively flat because again, you work your bobbles on the wrong side so that you push them through and they're nice and textured and raised on the front. But on the back, it's still relatively flat, which would be great for like a hat or a blanket where you want that flat surface facing you. A sweater would be great too for this, because again, you would have the flat fabric against your skin opposed to the bumpy fabric. And that's how you do an offset bobble stitch. I hope that was helpful, and I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and please stay tuned for more.